Hey guys, Derek here. Welcome to the Writer's Block. This is the first in 3 episodes, special episodes I should say, where we are talking about the writing of Planet Dolan. And of course, we can't continue the episodes, without first discussing the writing of it. And joining me is the man himself, Danger Dolan. How you doing, Dolan?
I'm going pretty good. Yourself?
Not bad, not bad. I should say welcome back. This is, I think, your third time on the show.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just looked up Derek Planet Dolan on YouTube and I can't find it. I found the Civil Spider one. I can't find the other ones.
Well, there's a simple reason for that. I'm not popular. Anyway, I'm just kidding. No. No, I promise myself no self-deprecation this episode. So, yeah, these episodes will really be about, well, of course, writing, and not just writing, but how writing affects other people, such as, in the case of Planet Dolan, like how it affects the illustrators and the animators and the voice actors. Not effects per se, more how they work with the scripts. Because once the script is written, well, it's distributed to them.
Yeah, it's kind of what they have to work with. I find that I kind of separate scripts between the ones that have like written notes, visual notes, and the ones that are just a story that they can adapt in their own way. So it depends on how much creativity they want in their work. And that really depends on the format as well. Right,
because currently I only do the Reddit stories, or formerly known as the Dolan True Stories. Whenever I curate the Reddit story, and I try to determine which character to insert in it, I'm always like, okay, which character could I see doing these activities? Like, who could I see? Like, the more mischievous ones, for example, would be Hellbent, or I don't know, or if
like Paprika.
Yeah, or, Paprika.
Snoopy, maybe.
Yeah, things like that, or
We have the same process for Super Planet Dolan as well, trying to figure out which character would go, like especially with pairing characters together. So the writing for SPD is mostly me and also Mookluk. We've occasionally had guest writers on, but that whole, like, half the script is an entirely personality-driven one, and it's a lot of humor in it. And so trying to find good pairings and unique pairings and how characters interact is quite interesting. And yeah, it's actually very interesting seeing the characters in Reddit stories that aren't used as much, and seeing which ones you select for which stories, and then putting them in just weird situations. Like I've never in a million years would have thought about that character in that situation, but cool. It's great.
Yeah, and sometimes it does boil down to mostly which characters do I have left. I hate to admit it, but it's a fact sometimes.
Yeah, we have characters come and go all the time, based on who's working with Planet Dolan, or who wants a character in there or who doesn't. So it's a rotating roster.
Yeah, but it's good though in a way, because it keeps things fresh and interesting.
Yeah, it does. There's lots of variety there, and it's probably the most diverse cast I've ever seen, and it just gets diverser every day. So it's a lot of it's influenced by the real people who created the character, or the character represents, and like their lives and what they've been going through. And like you can just see on Twitter, like if you want to write for Gogak or you want to write for Hellbent, you just have a look at their Twitter, and them and their characters are pretty intertwined.
Although with my character, I'm not really fat. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, the purpose of my character was, writers are known to be like the mysterious recluses, and by wearing that gas mask, I hide my identity, and hence I'm hiding myself from the world. If you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I ran to a writer course, and pretty much every writer's like that. When I first started doing YouTube, I just wanted to write scripts. That's all I wanted to do, just write the scripts. But of course, it's just me, and so I have to do everything else, like voicing them and editing them together and getting all the images and compiling them and marketing and all that stuff. All the other garbage I didn't want to do. Because as a writer, you just want to write a script, you put it out there, and that's like your contribution. It's your creative contribution. After that, you just want to relax and not think about it anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, YouTube's quite different in that sense. Something I found really odd was when people got attached to my voice and the character and all that, because it was always meant to be a placeholder. I didn't actually want to voice stuff. I just wanted to write scripts. That's the funnest part for me. And since then, I like to write scripts for other characters because I like to put them in the forefront. I like to play with their personalities and tell their stories and stuff. That for me is the fun part. So yeah, the reclusive thing, I get it.
Actually, thank you for mentioning when you first began with Planet Dolan, because back when it was Danger Dolan, I was just kind of wondering, do you think that the content or the topics for the scripts, or the fact countdowns at least, changed from then to, I guess, the most recent one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so we were just talking about this before we started recording. So I guess they've always been the same, which is just every topic, really. Anything that's interesting, played with a lot of different genres. What I found was that countdowns involving pets never did well. No one ever cared about those.
No kidding.
So we did a few of those and people just weren't interested for whatever reason. But sometimes the most random video will go viral and you're like, I don't know why. Script was bad or recording was bad. I guess the thumbnail was good. I don't know. But that's just the marketing side of things. But yeah, after a while, I mean, that we don't do countdowns anymore. We stopped doing them I don't know.
A couple months ago.
A couple months ago. Because you just run out of topics. You just run out of literally every topic you've ever done. And yeah, we're also saying how our brand is more about characters and animation now. And so in order to keep doing countdowns, you'd have to split it into like a different IP or brand or whatever, and keep making them. But of course, since we've already done every topic, it seems kind of redundant to just be repeating yourself. But yeah, I mean, that was just because I was interested in the research of like I was writing short stories and I'd be researching these weird facts about things to put in my stories. And then I was like, it's a cool idea to just like combine this all and just like put it into a script for YouTube, because I was already like tinkering with YouTube a little bit at the time. And so, yeah, I mean, I just kept doing those. And after about a year, I was like, oh, I'm done. But of course, you have to keep doing them. You can't just stop. And so that's when we started making a team and making an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, we're pretty much completely done doing them. We've done like 800 of them. So. Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. Shit. It's like every topic has been done. It was a good run. It was quite fun.
I'll admit, back when I did do fact countdowns, I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was learning new things, and also, although some of those stories, oh my God. I mean, those topics, some were very easy. Like, you could just go, you would know where to look for the information. But other topics, it'd be like, oh my God, you would have to go through the internet with an electronic microscope practically to find information. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. And then of course it's dodgy information. You don't know what to trust, and the websites are weird, and sometimes you'll have to go with just like comments on a video, and that's your source of information, which is garbage. When I first started, I had the luxury of just picking a topic, and I'd do like some preliminary research and be like, yeah, there's enough here for a video. But of course, after 700 videos, you're not doing that anymore. You're like, what is left? What possible thing could I do? And half the time you're accidentally using stuff from other videos, and you're like, well, like there's not much I can do about that. Like there's only so much information that you could go with. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know what you mean by that. I mean, I did this one video, fact countdown, about something like about horrible nannies, what they did to the children in their care. And it was such a depressing script. I mean, all the shit that I found online, all those news stories. So after that, I began to do the more lighthearted topics, or mostly the fails, like back to school fails, fast food fails, Halloween fails, and so on and so forth. And it was just to... And the reason why, it wasn't because they were easy to do, is because they were much more lighthearted than nannies murdering children. I mean, I mean, to be blunt. So yeah, that's why I wrote a script for almost every fail that there is. And looking back, some of them were definitely stretches, I admit, like back to school fails. I mean, seriously, come on.
Yes, there's not much you can do.
That's a stretch, but I was able to miraculously write a script about it. So okay, cool.
Have you found that now that you've been doing Reddit stories for years now? Have you started to notice like similarities in stories or like repeats and that kind of thing, or patterns?
I have noticed that. I notice that all the time. I have a fairly good memory, so I'm pretty good about not repeating stories. I mean, I'm not talking about obviously not choosing stories that have a thanks for your submission comment underneath from a curator like myself. That's how we know, by the way. If you see thanks for your submission or something under a certain Reddit story, that's really, not only are we thanking them, yes, we are appreciative, but it's also our way of saying, hey, the story has already been picked, pick another one. Anyway, but despite that, similar stories, probably even the same ones, may sneak their way into sequel threads, such as Craziest Things a Spouse Has Done Part 2 or Part 3. I mean, they'll submit the same story, but I mean, that was several videos ago that you really don't know, and you being me, is relying on memory. And thankfully, I've been pretty good about that, or so I've heard. We'll see.
When you hand off the script to the voice actors, do they ever do things that you find quite not what you were thinking, what you were expecting?
I haven't seen that in the Reddit story scripts I've written, but definitely the fact countdowns back when I did them. A big one was Hellbent, of course. I would, and yes, it was basically about puns and him wanting to kill me, maim me over the puns. But here's a little fact, and I don't know if you remember this from my fact countdown days, because I know you read some of mine too, where if I wanted to insert a joke or maybe have a narrator read a line in like a scary way or a nervous way or whatever, I would always put it off in the sides in the Microsoft Word comment. It'd always be in the margins. And even then, before the comment or the way to read that line of the script, I would always put optional in parentheses, saying, hey man, you can go ahead, here's a joke, here's a way to read that line, just an idea though, it's optional, do what you want. Because back when I was a screenwriter, I hated telling actors how to act. I'm like, my job as a writer, I'm not an actor, I'm not a director, so I'm leaving that up to the actor. However, that being said, if I had an idea for something an actor could do, then I put it in there, but I always put optional. Like, this is optional, I want you to be sure that it's optional. So
yeah, I remember seeing those in quite a few of the fact countdowns. Yeah, there was a period where the writers were putting in so many jokes, and some of them were so bad. I think I read out like a few ironically, like I'd read it out completely deadpan when they're like, "Oh, read this out," like all excited or whatever, and like I would kind of decide at the end if I was going to keep it. There were some scripts that I did that on, but I said to whoever was editing it, like, we need this visual or this joke is not going to work at all. There was a period where we were doing like way too much of that, and I was like, no, I mean, it's supposed to be edutainment, and if we start doing like comedy for every single one, it's just going to be kind of garbage. I mean, that's what we do SPD for now, which is it's meant to be comedic, and it's all to do with one character, and we specifically write in their voice so that it lands. Because when you hand a voice actor a joke, there's almost no way they're gonna do it unless you can give them some kind of advice or teach them how to do it. It's really difficult.
Oh, absolutely. Like, there are of course scripts where I wouldn't do that, such as that Horrible Nannies one, because I figure a joke would be tasteless. So, but any puns that may have made their way into the script, like into the main body of the script, into the fact countdowns I'd write, I promise you they were 100% unintentional. It was just my lame attempt at writing in a casual manner. I promise.
It's been a while since I even read one out, so I'm scouring my memory for when these things happened. Yeah, no, I mean, I found that with the Reddit stories, a lot of the jokey stuff is just in the voice of whoever wrote it, and so like I don't even recall seeing like any like cringy attempts at humor that the voice actor would have to pull off. It was always just like in character, which was fine.
Oh, right. Or sometimes they just comment on the material. Reddit stories, fact countdowns, whatever. Like, I know the one that was released today, I think it was released today, it was about, Pringle was narrating it. It was, of course, one that I curated. And almost after every one, he's like, this is, this, Jesus Christ, this is dark shit. He didn't say shit or anything, but...
Yeah, I was reviewing that one and I was having a good chuckle at Pringle's commentary. Yeah, that was Horrible Breakup Stories, Reddit Stories 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does another one that's coming up pretty soon, but yeah, no, it was great.
On a quick side note, I'm glad Froggy gave me some killer pecs. Thank you, Froggy, for giving my character killer pecs.
Didn't even notice that, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's different when it's your character, but I don't know.
Well, I'm always looking for interesting images in a video for thumbnails, because like the one thing I am in charge of on both channels is thumbnails. So if there's any like a super weird sexual ones or ones involving blood or something like weird like that, it's me. It's always me. So yeah, Froggies are so great to find thumbnails for to represent the video. Yeah, anything that is like. Anything that gets an emotional reaction of any kind is good. I have the same kind of thing with stories when I'm writing them, where it doesn't have to have a happy ending or anything like that. But as long as people feel something and feel it strongly, that's the important thing to me.
Oh, I agree.
So, like half the time when I write stories now, it's always a miserable ending. We just did a 2-part music video. The other part's coming out really soon. And it's about Gooby, and it's just like another sad ending in addition to the other sad ending. I love them. I love
yeah.
Torturing characters and stuff. It's great.
Oh yeah, where you lost your character lost your hat.
Yeah. So the second one is where Dolan trying to find Gooby because it's set before the previous music video. But obviously that's not going to happen.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
Spoilers for the 3-minute video. Yeah. So you like your sad endings too?
I do. Well, frankly, it's kind of real. I hate to admit, but it mimics real life. I mean, most of the time you are given a sad ending, or at least an ending that not necessarily sad, but one that is probably less than ideal.
I find that in real life, a lot of stuff that happens is somewhat meaningless, and so it never goes anywhere. I find that when you write a story, the key difference is that you can imbue meaning. You can have a point. It doesn't have to have a point, but I mean, as a writer, it's usually what you're going for, and so that's the big difference between life and that. It can be happy, it can be sad, it can be weird, it can be anything like that. Having it lead to something is nice.
You're right.
You never know in real life. Like you might be working on something your whole life, and nothing ever happens, and then you're dead, and then suddenly everyone loves that thing you did. That's I guess in some I don't know, some worldly way that's nice. But when you were alive, that could have been nice. That could have been.
I'm personally more of a fan of like twist endings, but not necessarily sad endings. But I don't know. But they've been done so many times, and most of the time they were just poorly executed.
Yeah, I find that with twists, a lot of the time they end up as cliches because they have been done quite a lot, and so in order to make an original twist, not just like a M. Night Shyamalan kind of twist. Where it's like it basically kind of ruins the movie if you rewatch it. It's hard. That would require a lot of skill and good execution. Yeah. Hey,
maybe when we finally get the storytelling animations going, hopefully soon, maybe put a twist in there. Gooby's not really a mermaid; she's just posing as one.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. No,
all along. It's just the pantsuit gone wrong. Yeah, for sure. Actually, yeah, with the that Gooby animation that we're going to release pretty soon, we also have a video talking about making it, which is going to come out really soon after it, and that should give everyone like a really good idea of where we're at with doing any kind of a cartoon. But suffice to say, it's been something I've been working on for years now, and hopefully it will be a thing. I don't think it's going to be a Planet Dolan thing, though. I think it's going to be inspired by Planet Dolan, but it's
okay.
something new.
Maybe like an independent project.
So it's independent in the way where similar like art style, similar feel, but just new characters. Kind of like, okay, so we've got new characters coming into Planet Dolan all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just imagine like a group of them do something completely separate from what's currently happening on PD. It's like that, you know. It's
okay.
Same kind of team, same all of that. But you know, you don't have Dolan in there, you don't have Goopy, and you don't have Hellbent or Melissa or any of those characters. But of course, the voice actors might appear in it.
Right,
so,
yeah,
just different characters.
That reminded me, the end of Doopy, those animation stories. Was that supposed to be more of an introduction to her character Pecan? Because that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, it kind of was. So I guess the intention with that, with the two-part thing, was to see what it's like to create a visual novel type series. So one that is more about reusing character frames and dialogue at the bottom of the screen, but with kind of cutscenes that are played as frames instead of an animation. So you could easily turn that into an animation if you just take those keyframes and give it to an animator and then do in-betweens. But yeah, I guess the main point of it was to prove that we can do it more than anything else. I don't think we're going to be exploring like the world of Planet Dolan that much, to be honest, because it's super basic. Like even with the settings in End of Doopy, they were just like, you know, this is a diner. It's just the typical diner stuff. This is just a temple. It's got temple stuff. In fact, the temple is the butt temple because I came up with it in 5 seconds. So it gives you an idea of how much time I put into the world building for it. No, it's just showing that we have the team and resources to be able to do it and do it on a amount of time. What I found though, and this is something I talk about in the video, is the format is supposed to be something you can bust out in like a month or two, kind of like SPD.
Okay.
And you can have it be like a storytelling thing of like 12 minutes in addition to SPD. But what we found is that the frames that make up basically cutscenes, not the dialogue, are the bits that take way too long. And so depending on how much effort you put into those, at that point you may as well just make it a full animation. So yeah, it's actually the in-betweens for animation don't take as long as you might think. It's mostly just making the keyframes and keeping things on model that are quite time consuming, which is what we found with our new Gooby animation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess it would be really cool to keep doing episodes like that where you could keep going, like you could keep exploring PD stuff of like characters and what they go through in between episodes and stuff like that. But if I like, we could easily keep doing it, but I would rather just do a cartoon.
Right.
You know? I would rather not do that, even though we could, and instead use those resources to make a cartoon. That way we can keep doing SPD at the rate we're doing it, which is like once every month or two. But we can also do a cartoon and not have to like split our focus all over the place. Yeah.
Okay, so just putting Planet Dolan characters into stories as opposed to showing everyone the Planet Dolan universe, because like you said, it would be, well, a diner's a diner, for example. Yeah,
there's no world building, and I don't think that it ever will be for Planet Dolan. Planet Dolan's, it's just been like a YouTube brand for just like funny stuff or educational stuff. If we were to actually full on go like, hey, we're going to get heavy into the world building and actually build this up into a franchise, we would be starting fresh, because I think that's the best way to go about it.
Okay.
Instead of trying to take what we've already done. Because, I mean, Planet Dolan's associated with one thing, and I don't think trying to cobble it together into something bigger is going to work that well. I don't think just because people know what Planet Dolan is, I don't think that's worth all the trouble that would cause, I guess.
Now we had...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't mean to bounce around from subject to subject here, but
That's cool.
But when you're talking about, doing the countdowns, like slowly phasing out the fact countdowns in favor of more character-oriented stories, whether it be the Reddit stories or the various videos on SPD, is it basically because fact countdowns aren't really that as popular as it used to be, or was the goal for Planet Dolan always going to be character-based storytelling?
Yeah, it was, well, I mean, that would have ideally been the thing we started with, but I didn't have the resources. I mean, I can't draw at all, and so to be able to make a cartoon on your own with any kind of draw is just absurd. And so it was kind of like my casual interest, and I just turned it into something that you can just turn into a series. Yeah, I've always wanted to do a cartoon, and as soon as we started getting the resources to be able to, that's what I started moving towards. But yeah, no, I'd say that the reason we started doing countdowns is just because we've done them all. I think that you can easily I'm pretty sure there are a whole bunch of countdown channels on YouTube that are doing pretty well. You could easily turn it to something with enough work. Anyone could do it, really, if you just keep following the formula. But I think you only have a certain amount of time on this earth, and I don't think wasting it on like doing the same thing over and over ad nauseum is a good idea. I think always taking risks and trying new things is key. To growth.
Definitely, I agree. Breaking out of your comfort zone, in other words. Yeah. Even if you do decide to do fact countdowns again, I doubt you will, but in case you do, I promise you, I will not write any more fail videos. I will still stay away from any fan art videos, if you remember that one.
Yeah, they all blur together after a while.
Yeah.
And, I don't even remember half of, the last year or so that we did them. I don't even remember half of them. But I did watch them all. It's just that when you watch that many, hundreds and hundreds, they just blur together.
I agree. Eventually, one begins to look like the other one. I probably remember these because either I wrote them or I'm relatively new. I don't know what the hell I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, I would definitely not say you're new. I mean, you've been here for half the time we've been around.
Right.
So you're a vet at this point.
But I am glad they're Planet Dolan's going into the direction, more into the storytelling direction. Because like you, I also write stories, as you know. As everyone here knows. So I kind of like that.
I think you're really going to like my discussion video, man. I really do. Because I go into it pretty hardcore about how I'm always going to cafes to do screenwriting scripts, right? I've written a whole bunch in the last couple of years that are just kind of sitting there. And as far as I'm concerned, they're just practice. You don't even have to turn them into anything. I think there are going to be some exciting things ahead. But yeah, it's a lot of work to get there. And I think that I don't really want to compromise on it as well. We could easily keep doing things like the visual novel series, or we could keep doing music videos. But I think that we could do something pretty elaborate. So
since you mention it, how did you ever come to do the music videos for SPD?
I don't know. When we first started doing SPD, it was originally launched as a kids channel because someone at YouTube was like, "Hey, you should do," because I said I want to do animation, and he's like, "Oh, I should do a kids thing." I'm like, "Okay," so I did that, and then after a few months, I'm like, you know what? I don't care about doing the kids thing. I'm just going to do fun animations that I like. But when we first started out, we were doing nursery rhymes, and so those eventually evolved into just original music videos with original music artists. And now we've been licensing songs from Monster Cat. And so this second song we're doing is another Unlike Pluto song. They did the Origin of Gooby Waiting song. Yeah, I've always loved music videos. And of course, animation works really well for that because it's a short form piece of content. And you can do storytelling, and it doesn't require any voice acting for it. Yeah, it doesn't require any sound design either because the music's already done, unless you have any scenes before or after it that require sound design. It's a lot easier, and it's also really easy to storyboard as well. I'm pretty sure we storyboarded Origin of Gooby 1 and 2 in a pretty short period of time, but we kept going back and tweaking them and fixing them up. But yeah, I guess it's just an interest thing. Hearing a good song and suddenly having an idea for a character. We had I think a couple of other music pieces of music with one of the storyboards was done for Nixium, so it that could have been a video, but I don't know if we are going to do it. We still might, but we have one that's really cool that we would use for Pringle that hasn't been storyboarded. But yeah, they're quite interesting to do.
Wasn't there one with Pringle about outer space?
We never storyboarded it. We had the song, and I had the idea, and that's as far as we got. So
okay, because wasn't there one like about space cadets or something like that? Or
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Pringles Aragamba one. I forgot about that one. We are Space Marines.
Yeah, thank you. That was gonna bother me all episode.
Yeah, no, that's my bad. I totally forgot. Yeah, that's in a similar vein, actually. There's another one that we're going to do that was a Pringle one. This one, yeah, was just a piece of music we got sent, and then we would just kind of like bounce around ideas for it. Yeah, that was a bit of fun, that one.
It's fun to just brainstorm, too.
Yeah.
You know, I think it is.
Well, coming up with ideas is easy and fun, and anyone can do it. You never want to be the ideas guy. You have to have some kind of like ability to create things and help create things and all that. So as far as I'm concerned, coming up with ideas is not work. It is the fun part.
Right.
It's like it's playing with your toy set when you're a kid. Right?
Yes, it is.
So that's super easy. And so coming up with an idea for a music video or like a story for a cartoon, that's easy. But yeah, so like a lot of my craft is actually turning a story, like an idea, into a screenplay, which I'm positive you can relate to as well, which is the hard part.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It's very hard to do that, and it's almost always going to be awful, but you just keep hacking away at it until it turns into something manageable. Doesn't make you cringe every time you think about it. So
I can think of a few Fat Countdown scripts where I personally think are shit. Not the videos are fine. The voice acting is fine. Everything is fine except for the script I wrote. Because one of them,
fair.
yeah, I mean, because there are some times, not just with Fact Countdowns. I watch a video from a script I wrote, and I'm like, the video is well done, but I'm like, the script I wrote is just not as good as I thought it would be. I don't know if you ever had that before, but I certainly have. I'm like, I thought this was more interesting.
Yeah, man, I'd have to go through the old ones, because I remember I wrote every script initially, and some of them I was like, that was utter garbage, and sometimes people would share them around. 15 bizarre and awesome Halloween candy 5 years ago, garbage, and it got like no views, and I'm like, I'm not surprised because it was awful.
I just watched that one.
Oh yeah, 12. It was my 18th video ever.
Oh my god! And it's funny because I actually literally just watched that one tonight. I was just looking at. I'm like, okay, well, I was trying to look for things to talk about here, Planet Dolan related, and I'm like, okay, well, let's kind of take a look. I'll take a look at the older videos, and that was the one I ended up watching.
Yeah,
it's like
useless pet toys and products, garbage.
But then again, you just said that ones about pets didn't do so hot.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one where I was like, yeah, people don't care about this. A lot of my favorite scripts are the ones that are just like funny, and I like to kind of put my spin on it when I did them as well, like Dumbest Laws in the World and that kind of thing. Worst Products for Lazy People. I'm sure a lot of people like those ones just because I was just kind of bewildered as I was reading them out. So I mean, that's kind of like the good thing about writing and voicing the same thing, is that you've done all the research and you've written the script, and you do have an opinion on what's there. Probably a good opinion because you've actively looked for it, and so that makes it a lot easier to do them. Yeah, God, I haven't looked at some of these in ages.
I think one of my favorites is it was one Hellbent did. It was the Dangerous Toys, and actually that leads me to a question about. Do you encourage voice actors to kind of go off script in terms of commentary and stuff, or is that totally them?
Sometimes, because what happened is initially when we first started getting other voice actors in, I was like, if you want to try and like put in some jokes or anything like that, feel free. But but then they'd hand in stuff, and I'm like, you know what, that's kind of crap. Like, and then you want to cut it out, and you're like, you know, like you don't know if you should. But then I would just do it anyway, because I'm like, well, I mean, it's I created this channel. I don't want it to be putting out complete garbage. Like, you know, if the jokes just don't work and everything like that. Yeah, so sometimes that would happen. Definitely the improvised moments, and especially like after credits things where they make like a weird noise or they've like messed up and they want to do bloopers. That's great. People always love bloopers.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I find improv can work, but it's very, very hit or miss.
You can, and people can also go overboard with it too. It's like, okay, this isn't like improv hour. This is read the script hour, you know. So because I'm sure it can get out of hand.
Creepiest toys ever. That was oh no, this creepy toys one was voiced by me. It must be another one. What did you say it was? The Hellbent voice?
It was not Dangerous Toys. It was
Dangerous Band Things Ever.
Oh, what was it? The thumbnail was of a cat with its entrails out. A rubber cat, a fake cat. It wasn't Dangerous Toys. There was a video of Dangerous Toys, but it wasn't his. It was... What the hell was it?
Most inappropriate kids' toys ever produced.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
That one. I was just thinking about some of his commentary on that one.
You can tell when we started getting other writers in for Planet Dolan. So all the scripts that I wrote, which was everything before, it was, okay, so I think the first one that was written by someone else was The Biggest Holes or something like that. It's like the weirdest holes. And that one was like 12 minutes. Pretty much every script I wrote was about 8 to 10 minutes. And people really started noticing when we got like other writers in, because I don't know, like I guess I just have a very specific way of writing things. Yeah, Strangest Holes on Earth, and people kind of picked up that it was written by someone different, and especially when it started like repeating items on a list, and sometimes I have to contact the writer and be like, no, I've done this one before, back when I could remember every content I've ever done, which is not a thing anymore. So I could be like, no, I reviewed it and we've already done that one. Yeah, it's one script I think someone else wrote that I edited was Dumbest Laws from American States, which I think was one of my favorite videos, where I added in a lot of my commentary. I'd read over the script and add it in just like a lot of jokes, and I just had a great time with it. I
remember writing one script. It was something about, it was times that people didn't stop to help or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
You read it. It was an earlier script, and I think you actually had to stop midway because I think one item you just couldn't believe, and you just bursted out laughing. At first, I thought did I script this? But no, it was. I checked the script, and no, I didn't script it. I mean, that was your genuine reaction. I think it was a fisherman that rescuing boys who are drowning because there wasn't money in it otherwise, or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
It was earlier script, but speaking of earlier scripts, I think I can remember the first two Fat Countdown scripts that I ever wrote for Planet Dolan. One of them was amazing new discoveries about animals. I know Melissa narrated it, and the other one Nixium narrated, and he was at the time brand new too. I think him and I started at the same time. It was Creepiest Discoveries Ever. A fun fact for everyone. Or let's just say it's a fact. I'm not sure how fun it is. A fact for those of you listening, those two scripts, my first two were actually test scripts. Because when I applied for the writing job, Dolan had given me a couple of topics to see to test my script writing talents, and I asked him if these would be made into videos or if they wouldn't be. I should have just kept my frickin' mouth shut. Because, I mean, the animals one turned out pretty good. But the Creepiest Discoveries, I cannot rewatch that because I think it is shit. Once again, voice acting and editing and everything was great. The script was horrible. It says Creepiest Discoveries Ever. I mean, it was more bland than Hospital Jello. It was horrible. None of those were creepy. None of them. So, I don't know. But he must have thought they were because I got the job. So,
Yeah, they're probably fine. I actually can't find this video. It's just control Fing discoveries. I can't find it.
Creepiest discoveries? Oh, okay. Speaking of which, how do the scariest and creepiest videos ever get good views, or get a lot of views, or get very little views, or how do those usually do?
Yeah, they usually do okay. When we were experimenting at the start, they did it just as bad as well as everything else. I know the Slap Tam started doing those a lot more, and now his channel's pretty much known for them. But yeah, I kind of just did them occasionally, just whenever I felt like it. But I never felt any desire to specifically do a lot of them. It was just like another it was just a lot of variety on like what could we do next and whatever takes your interest. But of course, after a while, when other writers went in, I mean, they were welcome to do any topics they wanted, really, as long as they were approved. But they just kind of did the same thing I was doing, which is just a variety of topics. I probably should have mentioned to them that they're free to kind of hone in on a certain genre if they want.
I think you might mention that to me.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think you did. I mean, okay, for those of you who didn't know, which is, well, probably everyone who doesn't work for Planet Dolan, there was back when I did fact countdowns, there was a list of topics that we could do. And if we could choose from the list and copy and paste it under our names. Because there's a name for each writer there. And which writer was writing a script for whatever topic. And yes, I like Dolan said, we were allowed to come up with to write scripts based on our own ideas for topics, as long as they were approved. Yes, I actually came up with the most horrifying amusement park accidents one, by the way. That was mine. I don't know if any of you remember it. I was evidently yelled at for doing sloppy, yes, granted, it was very sloppy research, I'll admit, but yeah, that one. About the poor kid getting decapitated by the roller coaster. Yeah, the horror. I said, no, this is an example of, and you had briefly touched on it. You have to be careful when doing fact countdowns. We had to be careful of where we're getting our information, which sources we're using, because the source I found for that article was the kid was with a friend was sneaking it back into the park when in reality he was just looking for his hat. Whoops. But I mean, I still should have done my due diligence. I mean, I have a journalism background, so that was especially embarrassing for me. But anyway, it's all good. All good now, but that's an example.
I just got taught the basic using multiple sources for information and making sure you don't quote anyone like word for word, like really basic stuff in high school. And so I just kind of adhered that. I was amazed when some of the writers, not you, but other writers came in and would verbatim write like line for line. I'm like, no, no, you don't do that. And also you don't just use one source for all your information. That's just silly.
Right.
Yeah, that's really basic stuff. But being able to get that information into a way that's engaging or entertaining is the hard part.
I agree. It was really difficult. One script where it was difficult to do that was Mysteries of Ancient Egypt. It was one of the last fact countdowns I wrote. I remember Melissa narrating it, and the only reason I remember that is because I had a lot of very difficult cities and names for her to pronunciate, and she did a fantastic job at that. Oh my god, I was so impressed. Like, she actually knows how to pronounce that? I didn't. I just wrote, like, fuck it, you know? I'm the writer, I don't have to narrate this. No, I'm kidding. But I just remember being very impressed with her, and that's why I remember her having narrate that script. However, it was a case of everything else about the video was good except for the script, because I thought it sounded too, in my opinion, textbooky. And yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I was just going back through the pretty much every video I've ever made, just like scrolling through the list. It's been interesting seeing all the topics that I completely forgot that we did.
Wasn't there one where they had the most views? Like it wasn't about volcanoes or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I found that the ones that get lots of views almost always have nothing to do with like the quality of the video or who narrates it or whatever like that. It's just like a very really random sequence of events that cause it to get out there, which is interesting.
That is very interesting, because for a long time I thought certain voice actors had more
think
views.
that, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm wrong. Well, going back to scary and creepy scripts. By the way, I wanted to mention that I'm happy that we started to do those in Reddit stories again. Not as often, but kind of. Like there's ghost stories, and I don't want to write off the topics.
Yeah, we started doing the compilation videos for the channel, we bring back some of the old creepy stories. Yeah, those are quite good.
That's right. I mean, I love doing those stories. I mean, that's the stuff I write. That's the kind of fiction I write, so I guess that's why I like that kind of stuff. The scary and creepy stuff. I personally, I don't really have a favorite specific topic, like when dealing with, say the Reddit stories, because they're all very interesting. They can all produce very interesting stories. I mean, I was going to go over how I curate a story, but it's really, whatever's interesting, to be blunt.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I found that the quality of the stories goes up with, like, if a certain video gets lots of views and then you get lots of responses to the topic, then the quality of the post goes up because there's more of a selection. But yeah, once it starts going down, then you have to kind of make do with what's there. And so, of course, that lowers the quality, and then there's a cascade effect, which sucks. So it's like, no matter, like, if you have a great topic, but no one watched the original video, then of course the next one's not going to be as good because there's not enough stories. So
or at least enough good stories.
Yeah, not enough to work with.
When the time comes for me to work on whenever I work on a Reddit story script, how I choose the stories is, first of all, there has to be substantial writing there. I may put in a little filler, but I hate doing that. And when I do put in filler, I'm not making anything up. I mean, filler could be like just simply repeating the subreddit question, like, that was the scariest moment of Dolan's life. Just filler like that. Not making anything up. But I hate doing, because that can get boring. And I personally think it can kind of get a little sloppy depending on how you do it. But of course I'm judging by, is it a good story? But also, because we have illustrators, they're illustrating each story, are these illustrations going to do a good job of supplementing the material? I mean, are they going to be good visuals, in other words?
That is something you take into account, actually, because it is a drawn thing.
Yeah.
When you're doing countdowns, you always have images to support your writing. Whereas with this, you just don't know who's going to illustrate it and how they're going to do it. And sometimes you'll have some basic notes. I mean, SPD, we have lots and lots of notes because sometimes a joke will not land unless you telegraph it a lot. But Reddit stories, just suggestions are always appreciated for the artist, I think.
Oh, right. And I normally don't pick mediocre stories, but if the story is mediocre, but I think it would produce great visuals, like a great illustration, then I'll include it. But once again, very rarely will I do that. Because for the most part, I mean, you could have a great illustration, but if the story is mediocre or worse, then you're going to put people to sleep. And they're more likely to click off the video. And of course, we don't want them to do that. But that's what I do. And then my editing style is, and this is something that I found works very well for me. I'm not sure what other people did, but what I'll do is after I curate the script, after I curate all 10 stories, I'll print it out, and then I'll open a blank Word document, and I'll retype it. And when I say retype, I'll retype the whole story, but I'll include whatever Planet Dolan character I want in it. I'll erase all the first person pronouns, and just overall clean it up as I write. Fix the spelling, fix the grammar, word usage, make the sentences less wonky. So, so it's readable to the voice actor, whoever's doing it. And of course, I'll always end up rereading it to make sure it doesn't sound wonky.
Yeah, I think you do a really good job there. I watch every single video we put up, even if I'm not directly involved in every single one. And yeah, the lines themselves always sound great with how you've edited them. So I think cleaning up wonky sentences is the hard part, right? Because you basically have to rewrite it without losing the author's intent.
It really is. It's also why I don't like adding to it, like adding filler.
Yeah.
Because I want the story to be easily attributed to whoever submitted the story. I want it to be. I don't want to take anything away from them, if you know what I mean. Like by adding something, because besides, I wasn't there to experience what they experienced. So.
Yeah, you're just there to help clarify. You're not there to
exactly,
change the meaning of the story.
Exactly, and there are some moments where there's some stories that I would like to use, but I don't end up using them because it can be confusing. Like I don't know what they're saying here, what's going on. So unfortunately, I can't use it. I mean, yes, I can make an assumption, but I don't like doing that. Once again, it comes from my journalism training, where you never ever make any assumptions. So basically, that's essentially how the Reddit story scripts are put together in a way.
Just a real quick go through the SPD process. We start by selecting 10 questions from the audience, which could be on Patreon or on SPD comments. Line them up. Choose one as like going to be the topic of the actual video. And then we'll write out the real answers and, of course, have links to all the information that we got it from. So that's all done. Like half the script's done. And then, of course, the creative part, it's usually me or Mukluck, and we'll pick 2 characters to start off with and then figure out what the dynamic is and just have some fun with it, There's always going to be one person who's telling things that aren't true and one person who's just reading things out as they are. And then writing lots of visual notes as well. I know Mukluck loves visual notes, telegraphing things, whereas I try and keep it as minimal as I can, but there might be some parts where it's like, no, this is going to be like, there's no words needed for this part, especially because I can pass the notes on to our sound design guys as well. So I'll be like, I'll say to the animator, which is usually Jameshark, this part, I'm imagining this would happen, and the character throws this. Like he throws a thing, but it makes this sound. So he'll throw the thing, you'll show that.
Okay.
Then there'll be a pause where there's just silence. And then we'll send it off to the sound design guys, and they'll add that thing in, and then the whole thing will be complete. And so for that, you have to apply the context so that they know what's happening, and there's no confusion. And because your first thought there is like, well, there should be sound here, or it's going to sound like this, but then it's like, no, it's not actually going to sound like that. So you're thinking about the visuals and the audio. Whereas with Reddit stories, it's quite simple. You just tell the story, maybe occasional notes. But I've found when I've written story times myself, they're quite easy to get out. I can usually write them out in like a whole day, like a whole 10-minute video or whatever, because writing in someone's voice and having them tell the whole story without beats for sound and beats for visuals makes it so much easier to get the whole thing done. Yeah, I don't know if you've done the same thing. If you ever tried writing like in first person, just talked about something that's happened to you, like it's like a diary entry, right? A diary entry you can do in 5 seconds because you know everything. And it's easy to convey. Those are kind of like story times. It's quite easy to go through and put those beats in.
I know what you mean.
Not have to worry about anything.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I'm actually writing an epistolary short novel right now, where the protagonist is writing in a journal, and there's a lot of first person pronouns like I's and me's and us's and all that. So I know what you mean by that. I'm experiencing that myself. But when you mentioned Mukluck likes to do visual notes, are you talking more about like what Jameshark or whichever animator is doing it, like what they should draw and how they should animate it? Is that what you mean?
Less telling them what to do and more just like telling them what's going to be in the scene and then letting them figure it out. So, for instance, Mukluck, instead of dialogue, will just have like a star, like a little star on the keyboard. And then he'll have like a comment bubble on the side that says, in this scene, Nixium bonks this zombie on the head. And then the zombie crumbles into ashes and then explodes. Something like that. Just as an example.
Right.
Typical Nixium behavior. You know? And so for that, he's not telling him how to animate or anything like that. It's just, this is the scene. This is what happens. This is what happening. He'll write the dialogue that whoever the voice actor is going to read it out. And then you'll have like the scene set up. So that's a lot more elaborate than Reddit stories. And usually for me, I like to more write where the dialogue, like I don't write subtext that well. And so I will write the dialogue of the character reacting to something or saying something. And that will usually clue the animator into what to draw.
Right.
Like, the character is like, I hate this banana. Of course, the character is going to be holding a banana. But then, of course, there might be a thing where I have like a star in it, and then I'll say, but then he falls in the banana, he breaks his neck, and he's dead now. And the rest of the script, he's going to be dead. Just so you know. So that's just like in a little aside for the animator. There's one video we did recently where Dolan doesn't have eyes for most of it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I made that note, but I don't know. I think maybe James might have interpreted him. I think there was like a line later in the thing where he talks about not having eyes. And so I think he just figured out that in order to get to that stage, he's probably not going to have eyes for the whole thing.
Oh, okay. So that was probably more James's idea.
It was both of us, yeah.
Oh, both
yeah,
of you. Okay.
I brought it back, but I never actually outright said to James, hey, he's not going to have eyes anymore. Draw every scene without eyes. Yeah, I didn't do that.
Oh, man.
I probably wouldn't have done that because I wouldn't want to burden him with that because you got to redraw. Like, if he wants to reuse any Dolan animated frames, he can't anymore because he doesn't have eyes. So it's cool that he did, but I wouldn't have done it because I don't want to overburden him.
All right. So yeah, that shows you how much I know about animation. Like I don't know half that stuff. So I'm jealous.
If you could have just your dream job, would you rather work in film, TV, or animation, or web, or any other format?
Film, definitely.
With
film.
actors and sets and stuff.
Oh yeah. That's really my first love. Like when I was little, I always wanted to make movies, and I even made a few. And no, you will not see them on YouTube because they're horrible. And at the time, I loved wearing sweatsuits. Anyway, all kidding aside, though. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did you hear about Tarantino's first short film and how he made that and he showed it to like he's about to make Reservoir Dogs, which was like a huge film.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's like it's like set in the warehouse and that's it, but it's a great film.
It's great, like terrific.
But the short film he made was so awful because at the time he didn't have any industry contacts and he made it in like in a very short period of time with like low budget, and he used that as like to prove that he can make a film because everyone needs some kind of a demo reel,
right?
And the person who helped him make Reservoir Dogs was like, okay, now take your short film and bury it where no one can ever find it because it's bad. It's very bad. If Tarantino can make a turd, and he was like 27 or something when he made that, if he can make a turd because he just didn't have the materials he needed and everything, don't feel too bad.
Well, I was 11 at the time.
He became like a giant film director and all that, very successful, and pretty sure the dude is like has an incredibly high IQ as well. So yeah, anyone can make some cringy stuff, and I definitely have cringy stuff on YouTube. Back when it was first made. I think it was 2006. YouTube became a thing. I think my stuff came up in 2007.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Like 05, 06, somewhere in there. You're right.
Yeah. I recently refound the videos I made, and I showed them to, I think, James, because he was over here for MadFest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What about
other people that? Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what about you? Is this your dream job, or would you rather work in a different medium, like TV, film?
I would like YouTube to stop sending me angry emails about things. I want to work on a platform where they're not harassing me all the time and being like, your channel's going to lose the tick thing because we don't know who you are. Your video got demonetized and there's nothing you can do. Also, next week we're thinking about just killing you. That kind of stuff. If I could work in an environment where that doesn't happen with real people, that'd be cool. I think I'm very close to my dream job. No, I just want to work with cartoons and animation, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. I'm working with animation, but edutainment has always been kind of like on the way there. I've just been writing short stories since I was a little kid, and I like writing stories. I think like story times are very close. Like they're annoyingly close because I don't like writing stories about myself. And so I've actually found it was quite fun to write story times for fictional characters, which I think we have our first one coming out pretty soon, where I put in elements of stuff I've been through, but it's in the voice of a different character. I quite like doing that. But no, more like more just shows and being able to work in an environment with other people and geeking out about this stuff, and that would be cool. I don't like the feeling of working just like on my own in my office, like in my study, I should say, at home. It'd be nice to work with people in a real environment. Yeah, no, I'm pretty close to having the dream job.
Oh, good.
Not quite.
And the reason I brought up making my own movies is because first of all, at the time, we didn't own a video camera. We always had to either borrow one or rent one. And then this was before cell phones, so we couldn't record anything on an iPhone or anything like that. So
did you use VHS-C tapes?
We did.
I did.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I ended up writing more scripts than make the movies. And I think by writing all those scripts, I fell in love with writing. And that's why I write and no longer make movies. Although I have a soft spot for filmmaking, for like the behind the scenes of film, which is why I love working for Planet Dolan. Because I think this is awesome. Because we make videos, I write scripts for videos. Simple.
You should definitely see all the books I own. Pretty much every single one is like behind the scenes on a certain film or animation, or it's like more about the philosophy of writing, that kind of thing. I read a lot of autobiographies as well. I stopped reading fictional like books ages ago because I don't like any of them. I liked them when I was a teenager, and then they got very samey to me. But I like reading about the people who make them. That's to me is quite interesting. But I still go to the movies all the time, and I love watching movies. So like I like watching movies more than I like watching TV shows.
Same.
Yeah, because you can get in, get out, and you have the whole experience, and it's fantastic.
Problem with going to the theater is the price, or at least here. I mean, it's really an arm and a leg.
Yeah, luckily, because of what I do, I can. Like sometimes I get invited to film premieres. Like I'm going to see Joker next week because I got invited to see that.
Oh, cool.
So that just saves me money having to go see it. As long as I do like a little review of it or whatever. But I get what you mean. Yeah. Something like Netflix is good because you can catch up on some of the films you might have missed or didn't want to pay for. Yeah. And
it's really easier than ever to put your art out there, whether it be, a drawing or maybe a video or a book you write. I mean, it's so easy to do that right now.
It's so easy to put your stuff out there, but to get people to look at it is hard.
Yes. And I think we mentioned that before.
Yeah.
In self-publishing, I mean, writing is the easy part. You gotta get people to look at your stuff. That's the hard part. Marketing.
Coming up with an idea is easy. Writing the thing is pretty hard. Getting people to look at it is the hardest part.
It's near impossible.
Yeah, it is. It's too much stuff. And only the very, very best or the very, very well-connected get anywhere, unfortunately. That's just life.
I know.
It's garbage.
Oh, something I want to ask you about SPD videos. So each script is written by 2 people or just 1?
Some of them are 2. Some of them are just 1. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say more often than not, at least 2 people have worked on it. But there have been a bunch that have been written by 1 person, either me or Mookla.
And when 2 people write it, does like one person write the quote unquote truth, or what I call bullshit, and the other one write the answers, the actual answer?
It depends on the video. We don't actually have a good a set system. I'd say some of the recent ones have been almost entirely written by one person, but like for instance, one of the ones that's coming up is a Snoopy Paprika Pringle one, which is another 3-person one.
Oh wow!
That was written by both of us, and we kind of shared the responsibility. No, I can't remember if I wrote that one on my own or you know what I mean. Like they all blend together.
Right? Yeah.
I wrote all the fake stuff myself. But like there are a lot of videos that have Nixium in them that Mooclock wrote on his own, but then I go in and spruce them up or change things. Yeah, there was I think the latest one I wrote on my own. Yeah, I don't know. It changes based on the video, and sometimes I'll say to Mooclock, do you want to write the real answers this time, and I'll write the fake stuff or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll be honest here. I wasn't going to say anything, but for a long time I was going to ask you if I could try writing one. But the problem is, the truth I would have a hard time doing.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I refrained from asking you. Because I don't know if I could do it.
We've had a bunch of writers kind of come and go, but Mooclock's the only one that's like nailed it. Yeah, no, we've had a whole bunch, and I think like some of the real answers were actually written by Gooby herself. Like,
oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, she would do research for like good questions for us, and then we have a big document filled with them, and then some of them she would actually write like the real answer. So also sometimes she'd come to me with like the idea for like what the fake answer could be, that kind of thing. So
okay.
I mean, even though we don't credit her, some of her stuff is threaded in these videos.
Okay, so she does it on some of it unbilled. Interesting.
Yeah, just kind of as like a hey, have you tried this kind of thing. The real answer for one question really doesn't take very long. It's like three lines. And then you just have like at least 2 or 3 credits for like the information, and that's it. Really, you're kind of just condensing it down as much as you can. So it only takes a second. Yeah,
similar to fact countdowns with each item. I mean, you had to condense it to get the key points. Yeah. Okay, like some of those questions on the those SPD videos. It's like, I mean, they're asking theoretical questions like, what would happen if the sun was cut in half, or stuff like that. It's like, how am I can't help but wonder, how would you research that? But you do. You manage.
Yeah. It's some of these questions that I was curious about myself and then I Googled them and I'm like, no, there actually are legit answers. And some of the theoretical ones, people do have theoretical answers. They're like, they usually liken it to other things that have happened. And they're like, okay, in this pretend situation, this is what you can expect to see happen. Like even in the specifically that sun one, yeah, I think they talk about it in the video about how like something like it would just explode right away. That's the answer. But let's say it doesn't, and so you can make it more interesting by doing that. Let's say it doesn't immediately explode. The light would dim in this specific way because of this other thing that happened. And if you have a look at the research we did, it backs up what we say in it. That is the science. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, so in other words, you can't answer with like a one-word answer like, will this happen? No. Next question was submitted by, you need some of that. You need to build up on it. And that makes sense. Yeah, that really does. There's only
ever been like a handful of questions that you could answer really quickly. But even then, I think we got away with just being like, no, that couldn't happen. But curiously enough, blah, blah, blah. Or, but, interestingly, there's also this other slightly relevant thing. So, yeah. The tricks you learn after you've been doing this stuff for years and years and years.
Well, that is it for the writing of Planet Dolan, or Volume 1, Part 1 anyway, of the writing. We covered everything from fact countdowns to the red stories to SPD episodes, and you got guys got a little hint of what's to come. So, gotta look for that. But in the meantime, Dolan, thank you so much for joining me again. It's always fun talking to you.
Yeah, cheers, buddy.
Always fun. Especially when we're talking about writing, something we're both very passionate about.
Hell yes.
Yeah. And I want to thank you guys for watching. As always, make sure to check out the description box below and tune in for the next episode where I will be talking to the voice actors. I don't know who will show up yet, but hopefully all of them will. Be interesting to get their intake in terms of how the scripts affect them. In other words, how they work with the scripts. But until then, I'm Derek. This has been The Writer's Block. Until I see you in the next episode, keep writing.